Welcome back to the shop. Tonight we're going to be talking about milling some lumber, and we're milling that lumber out of cants. Not I can't, not you can't, but wooden cants. So what is a cant? Let's talk a little bit about a cant and how we get it, and a little later why we do it. Alrighty, if we start with a log on the mill like this, making a cant is simply just cutting off the four sides with the bark on it and winding up with essentially, if you will, a square log. Now, there's a lot of advantages to this and a lot of reasons why we want to do that. And we'll talk more about that after the video. But watch the video, and when you come back, we'll talk a little bit about why I can't is a good thing. Alrighty guys, so let's talk a little bit about what we're doing here. First of all, let me apologize for the hum in the background. That's the air conditioner here in the shop, and 2 days before the first day of summer, this air conditioner isn't going to go anywhere. It's going to be on for the rest of the summer and well into the fall, as you know. But anyhow, what we're doing here is Jay and I are loading up our first cant on the mill. And I've really come to like working with these cants. Pretty easy to manipulate and move around. We actually could have carried this one up to the mill from where it was. It's not really probably much more than 40-50 feet from where the mill is sitting and where the camera is, kind of off to the right of the camera. So really not that far. But what we did is we loaded the cant up, and as you see here, we're coming in with the next cant that once we get done milling this first cant, we're going to pop that on the mill. So as you can see, I'm bringing the head down on the LT15 wood miser here, and I'm going to do is make what I call a clearing cut or a leveling cut, and just take a thin layer off with my first cut, and it's going to be probably about a eighth of an inch down where I'm at now, and that's going to come out to be about a 1/4 inch by the time the mill comes all the way downhill here, and that's going to make a nice level surface on the board, almost kind of like using the wood miser as a sorry, that was my cell phone going off here. Let me quiet that down for us. But that's almost going to be using the wood miser like a planer. And you'll see Jay walk in here in just a second. And what he's going to do is he's going to pull that first board off, that thin layer off, and that's all waste. And if you look right behind the mill and just coming into view here in just a second, you're going to see a tire right on the left side of the mill where it says wood miser, and that tire goes to a little cart I bought at an auction a while back and got it for $5 if I remember correctly, and I've made it into a flitch cart to hold those flitches, those little pieces of board that really you can't do anything with. And we put those flitches on that board, and it's got a 2-inch ball on it. I hooked that to the tractor, pull it over to the burn pile, so now I don't have to handle those flitches twice. You know, the first time when I cut it and throw it on the ground, and the second time when I pick it up and take it over to the burn pile. Now Jay in there, you see him getting into the sawmill shed, and I think what he's looking for here is a pair of ear protectors that he keeps out there. I'm not sure where they wound up. I think they're actually in that shed, and he just didn't see them. And here in a second, you'll see him come down, watch me do some milling here, and he's going to have his hands over his ears. Not really the most effective ear protection, but I think later we found those in the shed. But anyhow, back to that cart I got for $5 and I put the flitches on. Works really well. I just hook it up to the tractor, pull it over to the burn pile, and empty it off. And as I said, it prevents me from having to handle those flitches twice, you know, where I throw them on the ground and then have to pick them up and load them up or drag them one by one over. So our first cut on here was the clearing cut or the leveling cut. And Jay threw that on the cart. Now this is a 2-inch board here. I think it is actually come out being a 2x8. And what Jay's going to be doing, he's going to be pulling these boards. He's going to be the bearer, pull them on the trailer. And if you look at the setup now, how we got this set up, it works pretty good. The boards come off this end, go on the trailer to be sprayed with Timbor and stacked, and then flitches go off the back side to be pulled off once we're done milling for the day. As you can see, that bearer job isn't real fun. That's probably the harder and least desirable of all the jobs is doing that. because then you have to stack everything after you're done. And what I'm going to do through this video, you'll watch me kind of do the first couple of boards where I show you me cutting it and then pulling the head back, and then here in a sec what I'm going to do is just me coming down cutting the boards, and then I'll skip back to me cutting the next board, just because really watching me cut the or pull the head back on the mill really isn't that fun. So here, that's what we're up to now, and as you can see, we've got 2 or 3 2-inch boards already laying down there, and this first cant is just about done. So y'all hang on, watch the video. I'm going to speed it up to about 8 times normal speed here in just a second. Alrighty, so that was a lot of lumber we got out of just milling a few cants. Didn't take us too terribly long to do that. Me, Michael, and Jay were out on the mill about 2 hours and 45 minutes to do that. Now, we weren't milling the whole time. We did take a couple of popsicle breaks, and we did goof off a little bit, so the whole time wasn't spent milling. But that's the advantage of milling a cant and then coming back later and milling your lumber out of it. Now, let's talk about some of the pros and the cons of making cants. First of all, let's talk about the cants. All right, you lose the live edge, and that's probably the most significant thing is you will lose the live edge, obviously, because you've cut all 4 sides of the lumber off, or the log off, so there's no live edge anymore. Then you have to handle the log several more times. You bring the log up, put it on the mill, and if you're just cutting down through it, you cut it and you get the boards, and then all you have to do is stack it. When you do a cant, you cut the square and you make the cant, then you take and you go stack the cant somewhere, and then if you need to use it again, you got to bring it back and cut it again. So you have to handle the cant a few more times. And that sometimes may seem like a disadvantage, but not necessarily so. Now let's talk about the pros of having cant sit around as opposed to having logs. First of all is bugs. It decreases a lot on the bugs.
Yes, it does.
You don't see near as many bugs, particularly powder post beetles, but with pine, them big black pine beetles that you can hear in the evening when you walk by your pine logs and hear them crunching. That's probably the biggest thing. You do get some ease for of getting lumber for a project. Now, if you think about that, and if you wanted some lumber for a project and you had this already sitting around, it's lighter. It's going to be a little bit lighter because it's lost some water, up to 30% lighter than when you initially set it down. And then you'll be able to come out and just cut, take and set it on the mill and just cut whatever you off, kind of like slicing bologna or slicing salami. You just take off how many boards you need and then you have them ready. Now, one of the advantages of that is the lumber's drier, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is.
So you've already got a jump start on your lumber being dry. And in many cases, we can go ahead and use it for like our outside projects to sign people and things like that. So it works really well from that respect. It's easier to stack. It's just easier to deal with because it's square. You can go ahead and put it up on some stickers and let it start drying. It's not a huge problem. You can spray some a little bit of Timbor on it, keep the bugs off it, so that helps. And then just the ease of doing inventory, to go out there and look and say, how much lumber do I have if I need to do a project? And you can sit down and kind of figure out quickly where, as you know, with using the logs, you can get a rough estimate on your lumber. But compared to having a log and not sure how much lumber you're going to get out of there, this you pretty much know, I'm going to get a 12-inch wide, 2-inch board, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So you know exactly what you're going to get out of there. So that's a big advantage, and I think that's a huge advantage to doing that. And I think it's something we'll continue, and actually in the weeks coming ahead here, we're going to be milling a bunch of pine into cans. All right. I think that's probably about it, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else, and that should be just about it for this evening. As always, we'd like to say thank you for watching the video. And remember, we'd love to see you back in the shop. Welcome back to the shop. This is a daily about. All right, on this part you can pretty much do anything. You can do anything because I'll edit this out.